In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Good night, everyone, and get ready because it's time for the late chip at the video store.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning, good evening, just good to you all. Mike, I was rushing during the theme song. As soon as that theme song starts playing, I'm like, gotta send the link to my mum. Totally forgot. So hopefully she's in the comments. Hello, hit us up in the comments. We'd love to know who forgot hanging out with us on a Friday night.
Yes.
Or a lovely Saturday morning in my case. So chuck us up a hi, hello, hey. As always, we've got our banner streaming down the bottom to buy our shit.
Yes, always buy our shit. I got the old school video store t-shirt.
There's a Doing Disney Hostess with the Mostest shirt I'm quite fond of and want to make the bestseller so badly. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing really good. And this is a topic so open-ended, and I think we got a lot of hits on the Facebook about it. I'm hoping we get a lot of people in today because basically I need something new to watch. Last week we had horror, so let's do the reverse and we'll do some comedies. And I'm at the rewatch stage of things, which is great, but I'm like, let's see if there's anything new. But the 2010s really did give us some great comedies, and I said the only stipulation I sort of gave was I don't mind if it premiered in the late 2000s, so in year 2008, 2009 maybe, or even a little bit earlier, as long as it had the bulk of its seasons in the 2010s. So the example I would give is The Office, premiering in 2005, and it had its best years before 2010.
Yeah.
So even if it's more series in the 2010s, no one's going to come on and argue that series 7, 8, 9 are like the top tier of The Office. Whereas Parks and Rec, premiering in 2009, and then that first season's iffy, really hit its stride in the 2010s. I am a big fan of the Mike Schurverse. I love The Office, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But the one I'm going to kick off with today is a show that really I like something that changes my worldview a little bit, that brings a new perspective while also being hilarious, and that is The Good Place.
Ooh.
The 4 seasons of The Good Place I think are fantastic, but those first 2 in particular, I'm always interested in human behavior and psychology and why we do things. But the thing is, I'm a fiction reader. I look at those nonfiction texts and I'm like, that is just so dry. So I'm never going to pick up Kant or any of those philosophers mentioned in the Monty Python song. I just can't. It's so dry. So what I really loved is that it took theories of ethics and brought it into a digestible format that was always also funny. So it delivered it to you with the jokes, but also I think you did take away something from that show. You learned a bit more, even if it's only just what do we owe to each other. I think that was a great line from Kant that they kept repeating over and over. And this show had a thesis statement, it had underlying tone. I really appreciate it. But Kristen Bell, Ted Danson, always so funny, and just the absurdity of it, it really just toes the line to it for me, with Janet. And then that also, what I find fascinating about Janet is what is it to be human? It brings up those existential questions, and I'm sounding so serious for a comedy show, but also it's just so funny. It is so funny. Holy motherfucking shirt balls, just sayings like that. I love. Mike, did you watch The Good Place?
Yeah, actually, I think I only watched the first 2 seasons, and I meant to keep watching, but then other shows had come up, and I was going to go back to it, and I just haven't yet. But I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons, for sure.
The first 2 seasons especially, it is Exactly. Once, if you have a show that is so twisty, turny, and has to be keeping you on your feet, I do concur. After the third season, it's a bit iffy, but I think it does still stick the landing. I cried so much at the ending. The ending is beautiful, great series finale. But it has rewatch value because when you know the twist and you go back and watch it again, you're like, wow, foreshadowing there, that there, and it also had an amazing podcast hosted by Mark Evan Jackson.
Oh yeah,
And they would
sure.
focus on each episode. So if you watch an episode, listen to the podcast. Oh, it was so good. Loved it. Mike, what's your choice for this evening?
I actually am going with Silicon Valley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just like, I'm not a huge tech guy, but seeing Thomas Middleditch, TJ Miller, Martin Starr, and Kumail together,
yeah,
were just fucking. Especially Kumail and Martin Starr had such great chemistry together, man.
Yeah.
They were so funny with each other, the back and forth between each other, and then TJ Miller coming in until he was out the last season because of other stuff, but him supplying the stuff with Thomas Middleditch, their relationship mixed with Martin Starr and Kumail just were great, and then especially TJ Miller and Jin Yang.
Yeah.
Played by Jimmy O Yang is fantastic. Like the refrigerator shit. How much he messed with TJ Miller throughout that series when he was trying to kick him out the entire time. It's fantastic. I loved it so much.
Silicon Valley is really like what I wanted to hear from this topic because it's one I've started twice, I reckon. I watched that first episode, but just not, I've chucked it on like when it's late at night or when I'm sort of don't know what I want to watch. Oh, I'll try something new, but haven't sat down and been able to get into the characters because I love all those actors. And I've heard the reviews and that is very much my type of humor. It's just those ones, is it one you just sort of need to get into a bit more and then once it gets going?
Yeah, like in the first season, the first couple episodes, if you can get past like the first 2 episodes, it starts delving more deep into the relationships between them. Once it hits that, it's just full on go from there.
Sounds good. Well, we have a link in the comments.
Yes.
We have our first customer. Mike, bring someone in.
Jim!
Oh, I think I know where this is going. Bring it. I'm going for gasps. Go for it. Go for it. We could just do a whole. Please don't hit me. We could just do a whole segment on just dances, I think. But. I love. Okay, Jim, please tell us why you picked It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Because to quote multiple places all over the internet, it is the best smart show about stupid people. It is just like. I mean, and obviously it started before the 2010s and it's still going. So we had the full 2010s with It's Always Sunny. And it's just like, my wife hates this show, but like she hates it because she says they're too loud and everything. And she just doesn't find she doesn't like dark comedy that much. And, you know, like just the character of Dennis.
You have to be able to roll with the awfulness that they're doing.
Oh yeah, it could be rough, you know. She finds because of the implication not funny even a little bit.
Because of implication.
Yeah, it is just, but it has always been my kind of show, and I just you know, you've got the boat episode, Nightman Cometh.
Yeah.
You got the one recently, which is just the show at peak offensive, is the one where they have the winning like lottery ticket and they trying to decide who gets
Hero or hate crime. So good. So bad is good. Like
the thing that killed me about watching that episode most recently was I'd been watching Shark Tank a lot while I was sick, like when I was going to bed. And so my wife walks in when Mac brings out the bike and she goes, "Is this on Shark Tank?" And I just start dying. I just started dying. And it's like, that's the perfect encapsulation of It's Always Sunny and it being how offensive it is. It's just my favorite comedy. Probably ever. it's so good. Oh, it's so good over so long. You know, it's just it bats like 300 over 20 years almost.
I love that you bring up the sustainability, because when Mike and I were chatting beforehand, I'm like, does Philly count? Because yes, it started in the 2000s, but it really did hit its stride as it went on. And as you said, we had the whole 2010s of it. It's now 15 seasons, and is it the longest running scripted series, or like whatever the thing is where it beat
it's a lot of
some
seasons.
record. A lot of seasons, and for the majority part, it still really does hold up. Like every new season, I think you are still getting at least 1 to 2 instant classic episodes, which is pretty phenomenal for a show that's been going so long. My most favorite is Charlie McDennis, The Game of Games, and then The Game Goes on Family Fight, because I just love game shows, and I think they just hit the competitiveness so well. So the puzzles like is in my daily vocabulary, I think.
Well, one of my favorite things that I quote to people that nobody ever gets is the episode where they're making Charlie an online dating profile, and he's just
Yes.
and then when he goes on the date and he says I'm a full-on rapist, and it's
I'm
like,
a full-on rapist.
You're a what? You know, kids, women, I love them all, and it's like, oh my god. What are some of your hobbies? Magnets. What do you mean magnets? Just magnets, man.
We're like, little green ghouls, buddy. It's so good. Mike, what do you think about Philly? I know you love it. What
Oh yeah, it's like Jim. I think it is my favorite TV show of all time. Like, it's a show that I continuously go back to over and over. I'll put on random episodes and just fall in love with it yet again. And like you said, Kelly, every season has a 1 or 2 perfect gems, perfect classics in there. And even the ones that don't always work out the best still have the jokes in them that I can still go back to and have some fun with.
Absolutely. Oh, Jim, thank you for coming on and giving us your answer tonight.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thanks,
Jim!
Mike.
What a way to kick off. And I love what Brian's saying in the comments as well. Like, Danny DeVito, what a great addition to the cast. We watched Frank's Little Beauties last night. that was always a funny one. Oh, dude, you are wheezing right now. Like, so
Fat
good.
Mac is so fucking funny.
Oh, Hot in Cleveland, underrated, like a modern Golden Girls, and funnier than anyone gives it credit for. I think it's Wendy Malick in it is really good as well. That's the kind of character I like. But absolutely, Mike, bring someone in. We have Javi.
That's Javi.
Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little tired, but that's okay. It's a regular time. Don't worry. But it's only
every time now. Like,
no. It's 8:45 here. I'm fine. It's just lack of sleep prior.
Yeah. Well, then let's hook you up with what's the best comedy TV show of the 2010s.
I'm here. I'm glad. But see, I'm so tired. I'm glad I'm here before Boatman, Spence, and Holtzman, because I'm gonna list the best one. I'm gonna say Community.
There it is.
Right. Why do you pick Community?
Community, I found out actually about it relatively recently. I found out about it 2 years ago, even though it's been around since 2009. It was on Netflix and Amazon, and I had both at the time, so I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. I don't think there's a show that covers meta and pop culture / movies so well as Community. Things like the paintball episodes where they're either
Modern Warfare. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's like they either are parodying a zombie apocalypse, a Western, or Star Wars. And that's just 3 episodes. It's phenomenal. I love the show.
Absolutely. This is one I was able to catch as it was going, and like just grabbing the DVDs as the season aired. And like I've rewatched those first 2 seasons in particular. We all know there's a big shift when Dan Harmon leaves, and then when Troy leaves and Chevy Chase, like when the group starts disbanding. But it doesn't take away from the fact like what they're still doing with the clever writing was really not unseen at the time, but just took it to that next level. Like I think the one really that signifies that is the one with the gang studying and they roll the dice. And what's that one called? The
Remedial Chaos Theory.
Thank you. It has been a while. I need to go back to this one, but Just jump vote in, Mike. Just jump vote in.
Yeah, we gotta bring it back.
I just got here and Harley is taking it from me. I literally yesterday, I sent a message to the faction chat that says, "Hey, I'm going to be on late shift tomorrow. If any of you try to freaking steal community from me, I
Boat, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I had that chat muted yesterday, so I didn't see it. But
you're gonna
the
pass.
fact that you did say that makes
I
it
sent
way
that
better than I
message
did this.
like Matthew or Adelaide or Holtzman would like jump in and steal it from me. They were expected that I would get stabbed by Hobby.
I'm sorry, but if it makes you feel better, I wrote that Full Metal Random match that you won. So
I mean, it was Full Metal, so you get half a point. You get
all right.
I meant to throw a big disclaimer at the top of the show, like 2010s, there's only so many, and if that's your show, keep bringing it up. Like, it doesn't need to be a one per answer, because I want to know what makes it special to you. So, Bo, what makes Community special to you?
Yeah, you know, this is a show like this to me. Like, this show is the best version of like the found family, right? Like that's the whole point of Community, is that you've got this group that all have their own major character flaws, some more than others, but everyone in the study group are insanely flawed people. But they all kind of come together, and they are each other's family more than they are each other's friends. They are each other's family, and I think it's also just one of the funniest shows like ever. Like, some of the most creative episodes of any television show ever. Like, everyone points to paintball episodes, and those are awesome. But like the Chicken Finger Goodfellas episode, like an entire episode
The Law and Order one
is dedicated to Scorsese mob movies, but is about chicken fingers. Like, brilliant. Or the Law and Order episode, the episode that's basically entirely a David Fincher movie. Like, it's so many brilliant like episodes like that, and some episodes that aren't parodies of anything, and just brilliant. Like, hey, let's just put all of these characters inside of a bar and see what happens. Mixology certification. There's no real gimmick. It's a brilliant episode, and has like Donald Glover should have been nominated for an Emmy for that. He is that good in that episode. Yeah, the claymation episode. Look, like, I watch that every Christmas. I watch that episode every Christmas.
Absolutely. There's so many building forts. Mum's even jumping in. She remembers those ones. Everyone's got those little special episodes. This show also made me feel like I could play Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm going to like credit it for that, because that's one of my all-time favorite episodes, is the Dungeons and Dragons episodes. I love the ones where they're just in the study room, though. I think those are the best interactions. And Joel McHale as Jeffrey Winger, I think, is always the thing that keeps bringing me back, because that main character is just so good. Those one-liners, so snappy. I think that's what grounds the show and lets everyone else be so zany. But guys, thanks for coming on and giving us about Community. That was fantastic.
Sorry, Boat.
Guys.
It's okay.
Right. Couldn't have been more Community, actually. It was perfect. Mike, do we get your thoughts on Community?
No, but it's actually a good thing, because I've seen random episodes. I have not actually watched the series completely, which I've been meaning to do. Yeah,
you must
remedy
that. We'll get on that. It's happening. Oh, absolutely. It's like all that rewatchability. And what's also good is that they made Greendale, go, Greendale, go, Greendale, go. Like, they made that school, like all the little side characters that would continuously be popping in. So they always like made it its own fleshed out show, which was great. Oh, Atlanta I have not seen yet, but very much want to, because I've heard nothing but amazing things. Mike, we've got another customer. Bring them on. Yes, Jake.
Hi. First time, long time, I guess, would be the response. Yeah. So I love all the shows that have been mentioned so far. And so I was kind of excited to come on here, because there are a lot of really good ones. I'm going to kind of go off the beaten path a little bit with my pick. It might be, if not my favorite Netflix original show. It's way up there. I only have one question. Who did the dicks?
Yes.
My
Yes.
pick is American Vandal as my
Nice.
best comedy TV show of the 2010s.
Oh.
One of my favorite things is when something that's a parody of a genre is also a really good example of the genre. So this is American Vandal. It's 2 seasons. Each season is basically a different true crime mockumentary that it follows these 2 high school kids who are like wannabe documentarians. And the first season and both seasons revolve around kind of toilet-based humor, because the first season follows a case where somebody spray painted dicks on 27 teachers' cars. And the whole thing is about finding out who did it. And then the second season, the culprit is named the Turd Burglar because of various feces-related crimes they commit throughout the course of the season. So the show is like really funny just on that level, but it also is just, it's so sharp with its commentary on the true crime genre and playing with the format in terms of how like it takes you on the same journey that a lot of the true crime stuff that we've all seen and like does, where it's like season 1 in particular starts out with a prime suspect, the guy who's like the class clown, the guy who has a reputation for drawing dicks all over the school. Him and Seth from Superbad would be best friends.
Oh yeah.
The way that they just go back and forth drawing dicks. But I think what really elevates the show, though, honestly, is that not only is it just a great example of the genre while also being a parody of the genre, but it is genuinely like really affecting at times and is a really interesting look into contemporary high school life and the sort of difficulties of it, because especially season 2 really dives into some of that mental health stuff. Because I won't spoil anything, but the way that season 2 resolves is actually kind of moving. But the show never forgets that it's also just really freaking hilarious. A really great parody. Dylan Maxwell, who's the prime suspect of season 1, is just an all-time great creation. Just his whole spiel about how he can't take a dump at his friend's house and he has to go to the store down the street because the toilet seat is more comfortable. This stuff like that is just so funny. And I just want to pull up here some of the episode titles, because the episode titles are also just funny in themselves, because season 1 is about penises. So you have episode titles like A Limp Alibi, Growing Suspicion, Climax, and Cleanup is the finale. And then season 2, because it's about poo, you have episode number 2 is just called number 2. You have like, there's like All Backed Up. The Dump is the season 2 finale. Is just called The Dump. So just, it's so clever in that regard. And I'm just, like Chris said in the chat, I'm really upset that it didn't get to keep going. I did see the creators of this show did a similar show on, I believe it's on Paramount Plus. It's about esports, but similar sort of format where it's like a mockumentary about this fictional League of Legends esports team. I haven't watched it yet, but
Ooh.
I probably should, considering these guys just were absolutely on fire. That is also pretty high up there, Kimmy Schmidt, and also would be one someone could bring up later. But no, this one was gone too soon. But at the same time, I also just, it was short and sweet. Yeah, it was just incredible show, and I just want more people to watch it because it's just so good.
Absolutely. I missed it, but when you said American Vandal, I'm like, whoa, like a little bit glass-eyed. Like I forgot that was a thing, because it was really hot for the moment, because it was riding off the back of like the Jinx and the People vs. O.J. Simpson. making murder, all that sort of thing, very much so. So, and I was in the university setting at the time, so of course, like all the young kids were talking about it and things like that. But for the last few years, I feel like it's maybe been a bit forgotten. So I love that you're bringing it back to the forefront and giving it another voice again. Mike, did you see this one? You reacted to it, so you must have seen it.
Yeah. I love these seasons when it came out, especially the mystery just coming apart through each episode, finding a little bit by little bit was so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's like genuinely gripping. Like you genuinely want to find out like who is responsible for these crimes, like, while also just wanting poop humor and like where you get like there's a scene. I think there's a scene in season 1 where they're at like a summer camp and there's a reenactment of somebody getting a hand job at the dock.
Yes,
and you get like the whole graphic. You get a graphic where it's like a drawing of like a computer drawing of somebody getting a handy on a dock. And it's like they didn't have to go there, but I'm so glad that they did. Like that's the sort of stuff that you're dealing with in this show. And it's just, like it works for like every type of humor that you could want.
Oh, fantastic. Jake, thanks for coming on to give us your answer.
Thank you so much.
It was great. That was an answer I wasn't expecting. So I hadn't thought about it in a long time. So how great. Make sure you put that link up in the chat.
Yeah.
Jump in. We are having some phenomenal answers. I have laughing tears as normal. There's one I want to bring up very quickly because we've been talking about best writing. I would make the argument that the best written comedy series is Veep. Veep is something that I've absolutely rewatched over and over again, loved to death. Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Selena Meyer, it just might be one of my favorite characterizations ever because we talk about like it's very on the same vein as Philly, where it's like these are awful people, but you're still rooting for them in their awfulness. And then every episode, whatever their schemes are doing, just at the end, they're just like, it always falls apart. They're always devastated. Winner, 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 winner. Like Mum and I would do it all the time. Like we'd pick the lines and just the insults that they fly out, the situations that they get themselves into. If anyone's seen Veep, please throw up a comment or something because I feel like this won so many awards, but never gets talked about very much, like in everyday vernacular. Do you get what I mean? Thank you very much, Jonah Ryan. So the journey they take him on, and Jake, very similar to what you were saying with American Vandals, like it's the parody of what's happening in real life where like this person should not be in office and they give him all this power. So yeah, Chris, jump in the chat, grab the link. So Veep, I think, is one that really has sustainability as well. But those first 3 seasons, like if you've never seen it before, I couldn't recommend it more for Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Amazing. Mike, we have a customer. Bring them in.
Hey guys.
Hey, Sean. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How about you?
Very good. What's your answer for the best comedy TV show of the 2010s?
So part of me wanted to go with Brooklyn Nine-Nine because it has a really special place in my heart. But I'm actually going to talk about a show that was literally just brought up in the chat, and I'm going to talk about Barry because I think Barry is unbelievable. So basically, for anybody that hasn't seen it, it's about a hitman who winds up going to Los Angeles for a hit. He follows his mark into his acting class, and the two of them wind up doing a scene together. And from there, like he winds up getting applause from that, and he goes like, maybe I could be an actor. And that entire premise right from the jump is great. But then you get on top of that, the addition of the Chechen mob in the entire situation, and then it just goes completely off the rails. And Henry Winkler is incredible. Yeah. I love Gene Cousineau, but the beauty of Barry is the fact that it winds up balancing its drama and comedy so well. Like you were talking about really, really well written shows, and Barry to me is arguably the best written comedy that's going on currently, especially even after this most recent season. It has gotten so dark. Like it's a truly dark comedy when you actually get into the themes of it all. Like even one of the opening scenes to it where it's his first meeting with the Chechen mob, and Fuchs tells him, you know that thing you did in Montana a few years back where you stabbed the guy in the nut? I think they'd be really into that. And he just goes, now listen, one thing I could do is I could stab him in the nut. I've done it before. I'm very comfortable with it. And they just look at him like insanely confused. These two Chechen gangsters, and they're just like, why wouldn't you just shoot him? Yeah, man. Have you been shot? It's like crazy painful. I've been shot, and it's fucking awesome. But when you get to balance amazing comedic moments like that with stuff like where you see Barry and his confirmed kill, which is like way far out there, and then the guys wind up chanting Barry Berkman, but he has to play off the fact that it was a happy moment for him, but the way he's playing the scene in acting class is that it was this amazing traumatic moment for him. Like the comedy is impacted so much by the drama, and I love that about that show. And Bill Hader's incredible, and the entire cast is great. Anthony Carrigan's killer. But yeah, I'd say Barry for me is probably the best. I'd say the best written comedy of the 2010s, just in my personal opinion.
This is one I've watched the first 2 episodes of and really liked, but I just started at a time where like I wasn't ready to sit down and ingest something, you know what I mean? So like it's sitting there in my watch next, and I needed maybe even just start it from the beginning because I've lost the train. You know how that happens with TV shows sometimes?
Oh, totally.
Like I've just started this and I'm like, I know I like it. I just need to give myself the time to keep going with it. But what I've seen in the first couple episodes, I really liked. So Mike, have you logged on to Barry?
Oh yeah, ever since I saw Bill Hader in Superbad, all I wanted to see is him get his moment to shine, and he has gotten that with Barry, 100%. And it's well deserved because it's an incredible show, incredibly written. Like Shauna said, it is so fucking good.
Absolutely. Well, Sean, thank you for coming and giving your answer tonight.
Thank you guys for
Thank
having
you, Sean.
Make sure you hit that link in the chat if you haven't been on yet. Tonight's been so much fun. Great topics coming up. Mike, who have we got?
We got Diaz.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
What's the best comedy TV show of the 2010s?
So I'm going to go to a show that people slowly discover me. A show that when you hear it on the CW channel, you're like, this a CW show. It's the funniest show on TV. Going with Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
I think it is now that one of the most funniest, most insightful, smartly written music hysterical. When you talk Monty, you don't think it's a musical. Then when the first song come in, and like make you laugh so hard. I think Rachel Bloom's thing. I think every character is so memorable, so likable, and it also does good dramatic stuff about everything. But I won't spoil it for everything when you reveal like the way she is and that reveal. Yeah. And that it's such a touching episode. You know, that inappropriate song about pooping for the first time in the last episode. But it's such a good show. I think a lot of people need to check out more. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time on TV. I haven't discovered it. I watched all 4 seasons, and I love it. And I think Rachel Bloom one of the best new talented bringing today.
I absolutely agree. I think Rachel Bloom is fantastic, and I'm glad to see. As you said, it is something that's gaining momentum, but she definitely is such a creative force in that show. And as you said, to make it a musical, it's like because we're piggybacking off of like we had Glee and we had all other musical comedies that maybe didn't last so long. So for her to have such creative control of this and is the reason why it's successful. So I'm keen to see what other projects she's going to do now. Mike, did you ever get to watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
I actually haven't. I haven't actually seen this, but it does seem interesting.
Yeah, it is. I think it's worth at least checking out to see whether it's your show or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The musical number is some of the most funniest things you've ever yet. Like,
the music's great. Chris, thanks for coming on and give us your answer tonight.
Thank you, Chris.
Now, Mike, I brought up the Mike Shearer verse at the start of the show, and I already said, we can't have The Office, and then I brought up The Good Place, and then I've had someone come on and go, I could say Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then I've had Aled bring up Parks and Rec, but no one's come on. I thought Brooklyn Nine-Nine was going to get snapped up straight away.
Yeah.
I thought Parks and Rec was definitely going to get a mention because, again, thank you very much. I will take all the eggs and bacon you have. Aled does it right. He knows what he's doing there. This is one I've been rewatching. This is why I said I need new shows because I'm going through the rewatch of Parks and Rec. What I really like about Parks and Rec, absolutely. Parks and Recreation obviously started off as such the first season, so being closely tied to The Office. with the Leslie Knope character. They really didn't know where they wanted to go with that. It was just too close to the Steve Carell character and just a bit zany. When they started fleshing out all the side characters in season 2, and then especially bringing in Adam Scott and Rob Lowe at the end of the second season towards the third season, I think they really hit their stride. They started knowing what to do with the Ron Swanson character. You see that character really develop out, because that all the Ron Swanson memes is what got me into the show, because I'm like, what is this? Because I'd been watching The Office, but not so much the Parks and Rec. But when you see like the Ron Swanson Pyramid of Greatness and all things like that, it's fantastic. So this show, the only times they're overly mean is to Jerry, which is unfortunate. But for the most of the time, treat yourself. Mum and I still do a treat yourself day. Like, it's fantastic. So all the little Galentine's Day, I think I see that as an actual thing nowadays. And that's from that show. So the warmth and love that Leslie Knope spreads, I think she is a positive character. I asked you the other day, I'm like, Mike, what are some good TV like female role models? Because we're watching It's Always Sunny, and like, it's not Dee. But I think Leslie Knope is a good female role model. She's
100%.
in her politics and government. She goes out, she gets stuff done. She loves her friends, everything. Apps and turds, chiki chiki pom pom, like all these Ansari like little bits he adds in is great. Obviously, Andy and April, I love Aubrey Plaza in it. She's just so deadpan and droll. It's fantastic. So they make Pawnee very much like Springfield and The Simpsons, where like it feels like a lived-in town with the quirky characters, and it's just a nice place to go back to and watch the show. I love the show, and the wedding scene between Ben and Leslie in season 5 is top tier. Beautiful. Do you like Parks and Rec?
Oh yeah, I love Parks and Rec. I think it's so fantastic, and I will agree. The first season, you gotta go through that and get to that second season. And that second season, that's when the show really takes off.
Absolutely agree. We've got our link up. We've got time for maybe one more. Do you want to come on and talk about Brooklyn Nine-Nine? I'll be extremely ecstatic. But of course, I love absolutely, that filibuster scene with Patton Oswalt is great.
I will say also, one show that hasn't been brought up, Ash vs. Evil Dead. It only lasts, it's comedy horror. It is comedy horror, so it counts. Go for it. They didn't get the 5 seasons like they wanted, but they got 3 great seasons, and it was a very great send-off for the character of Ash. And Bruce Campbell, he needed a new show after Burn Notice. He had a show that lasted finally a long while, finally did not get canceled after 1 or 2 seasons, and it was great. And then he hit Ash vs. Evil Dead, and he took it. New characters came on board that people fell in love with. It's such a fantastic show, fantastic kills in it, and the humor in it is so fucking hilarious.
I haven't seen it yet, but I trust you. Evil Dead does know how to balance their humor.
Yeah.
That's great. One that got brought up earlier was Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Didn't know what to expect from this show, but when you've got like Tina Fey sort of behind it all, of course, the writing's really good, and Jen Krakowski, but Titus absolutely steals the show. Alan and I still send gifts of Titus to each other with Pinot Noir and Boudoir. Or like puts it back in, or at the computer, like best reaction gifts you can guess is from Titus. That's a good one. And John Hamm. I love when John Hamm does those comedic moments like he did on 30 Rock, and then in Kimmy Schmidt. It's really good. And then 2 shows I want to bring up very briefly are ones that I think caught momentum, and I absolutely did not expect to be as good as they were Schitt's Creek. I didn't watch until after it finished, and I think that definitely gets some momentum and stride, and it's very similar to Parks and Rec, where you start to live in that little town and flesh out those little side characters. And the other one is Superstore. Superstore I expected nothing out of, thinking it's just going to be like another real generic bland comedy, but actually it had a lot of heart in it, and I think America Ferrera really branded that show really well and did give you that look into retail workers and what do you do if these are your circumstances and you just make the best of it and things like that. I thought that actually did end up having something quite important to say. So I like when my TV shows do give me mostly absurdist humor, but need to have that little bit of basis in reality that tethers you to it. So absolutely. Mike, I think we're gonna wrap up the store for today.
Yeah, we've had some. Oh yeah.
Oh, what we do in the shadows.
Yeah. Jackie
Daytona.
Daytona.
Yeah, that's such a good. That's one where you wouldn't expect sometimes when you do the TV version of a movie to translate so well, but that's the Crowaning, absolutely. Fleabag, I haven't seen yet. Must watch. That is one I'm giving myself the time to be able to sink into it, because British comedies really do it for me as well. When we do the 2000s, a lot of British comedies are going to be coming out of me, because I think that's where they hit it the best. But absolutely, Fleabag, and I think Ghosts at the moment is really good as well. So those are good ones. Mike, take us out.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
We'll see everyone next week.
And we're clear.